And 3, 2, 1.
Yippee-Ki-Yay, motherfucker.
Welcome to the party, pal!
See, the important thing is the rhythm. You must always have rhythm in your shaking. Now, in Manhattan, you shake to foxtrot time. A Bronx to two-step time. The dry martini, you always shake to waltz time.
Welcome to a 2024 edition of Yippee-Ki-Yay Mother Podcast. What's going on, Mother Podcasters?
Woohoo!
Happy New Year.
In a while.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Happy
What's happening?
Guys, Happy New Year.
Welcome back, Sean.
I'm back
Sean,
and
you
I
had
got
a
a
rough
hat.
December.
We know.
And your
Your voice sounds fine.
Yeah, your voice sounds great.
Sounding good, man.
Yeah, I think it's sounding good. I really haven't tested the range too much, but I have a doctor's appointment later this week.
And you're okay to talk on this podcast for a little bit?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we're going to try a new thing this year, everybody. And as I mentioned before we started recording, try a little more free flow. Like we do when we say we're not recording anymore and we have great conversations. I don't know if we can pull it off, but let's give it a shot. That means, Chris, you got to talk a little bit more. Don't worry about interrupting. Don't be so demure and passive, right? Get in there.
All right.
I
To
never
start-
worry about that.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to finish out the holiday edition in honor of Sean, who brought the Thin Man to the table. So we'll talk about the Thin Man for a little bit, and then we're going to do a 2023 retrospective, how we felt about the movies we saw, anything you want to talk about as it relates to films and things you might have watched in 2023. And then we'll spin the wheel. All 5 of us are going to be on the wheel. We'll spin the wheel for the next week's film, which is, again, we're back to our traditional, you bring a film you want us to see. No themes. No, it's just a free for all. Sound good?
It can be from India though, right?
If you want to bring an Indian film to do that.
With subtitles, please.
Oh my God. Yes, because the way this is going to go is we'll do a couple of weeks of this, and then we'll do a week of Indian, and then a couple of weeks of this.
Drew, that was so the way you
That's
did that.
okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Now
I love
John's
that.
going to be sarcastic throughout this, so let's just.
Wait a minute,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Sarcastic.
You might as well have winked to the camera when you did that, but okay. So Sean, in honor of holidays and our holiday movies, you, Chris, and Drew all did the same thing to this beautiful holiday edition. You brought films that took place at Christmas, not necessarily films that we look at as Christmas films, traditional films like It's a Wonderful Life and, A Christmas Story, Vacation, whatever. You brought a film that takes place at Christmas. Now, what'd you bring? We know what you brought, but bring it up anyway.
I brought 1934's The Thin Man, based on the novel by Dashiell Hammett. I am really into a Dashiell Hammett groove. I'm currently reading all of the Continental Op short stories. I have a collection of those that I've been working my way through. And this is one of my favorite films of 1934. Probably my favorite film of 1934. And I think...
Can you name another film from 1934 to give us a...
After The Thin Man.
That was 34 as well?
Well, they shot it in 34. So it came out in 35.
Actually, I was, when I looked at IMDb today, because I knew we were going to be talking about I watched the film, by the way. I assume we all saw it. We all watched it, right? Okay.
Yeah, on the train or,
No, I watched it at home on my screen. And I was shocked that it was 1934, actually.
Why? Why? Because of some of the innuendo?
I thought the 2 leads were very naturalistic, as you know I love.
Now, here's the thing. That is why I brought this film. I almost made this prediction last time that you would like them. This is what I love about this film.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt the free flow, but does Sean sound really much quieter to everybody else?
He sounds a little far away.
Yeah,
I
can hear you, but it's a lot lower.
I did have a throat operation.
Yeah,
I don't want him to push it.
I'll learn to talk louder. But my prediction of Ralph would have been that he felt that William Powell and Myrna Loy were naturalistic. Everybody else in the film feels like they're in a Broadway, drama.
Totally, completely.
Yeah, but And then William Powell and Myrna Loy come breezing through this film with their repartee, their more naturalistic acting style. Though William Powell does do the occasional big, take every now and then. But other than that, they are very modern. They're a lot of fun. My only problem with the first film is that they arrive into the film too late. I was afraid you would turn it off before they got there, Ralph. But to me, this is a wonderfully written film. Played to perfection. Other people have played Nick and Nora Charles. No one else has come anywhere close. In some ways, this is the best of them. Maybe the second and third are a little more fun because they're in it more. But as the series went on, they had the kid and this and that, and they got a little more domesticated. And it's not as much fun when they're not drinking. A lot of
they drank a lot in this film.
They were drinking in the morning. They're waking up in the middle of the night and drinking. They drank a bit. And as the one reporter asked, asked Nora, hey, is Nick working on a case? And she's like, yes, he's working on a case of scotch. Why don't you pitch in and help him? So that pretty much sums up the attitude of the film. And there were some lines they had trouble with. At one point, they're in their bedroom and they had disarmed an intruder, and the police are there and they're going through they're searching the room, and Nora goes, hey, what's he doing? What's he doing in my drawers? He's got, why? I forgot, what is it? What are his hands doing in my drawers? And all, and that was a line that apparently got cut out in certain states and all as well. But it was a lot of
That was after Nick punched her to protect her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to knock her out to save her.
Yeah. And also the other line that got him in trouble was because he got shot. He had a flesh wound, and they're reading the newspapers the next morning, which is Christmas, and it says, in the Times, you were shot twice. And then he goes, in the Times, I was shot twice. And she goes, in the tabloids, you were shot 5 times. And he goes, oh, they were nowhere near my tabloids. That was apparently a line that got him in trouble, too. But, I was really surprised when I read the novel, the original Dashiell Hammett novel. At one point, she had, something's happened, and he ended up brushing up against a girl, and Nora asked him, did you have an erection? Which is something obviously was not going to be in the 1934 film. But, it's a pretty true depiction of the characters, that appeared in the novel. It's like the Maltese Falcon, which I had also brought, another Dashiell Hammett piece, and which was also incredibly true to the book as well.
And it's a Christmas film. Why?
Because it takes place on the Christmas holidays.
Okay.
And we got to see the gifts. He got her a big fur coat and jewelry and all.
And he's shooting ornaments off the tree.
And he got a toy gun that he shot ornaments off the tree with.
Right.
It
he was a
needed
pretty
Nazis
good shot.
and lesbians.
What?
That's what it really needed.
Yeah.
Those guys weren't Nazis. They were just regular German army.
Yeah.
There's no difference in terms of the evil.
Yeah.
No, you're right about that.
Yeah.
But it is.
And I'm not to say there weren't lesbians or Nazis in this. It would have been early for Nazis, but
That's true. That is true.
So
They're already
don't judge.
officially a year old.
Yeah, but don't judge this film because there are no open lesbians or Nazis in the film. Don't judge it harshly.
No, I judged it because you brought it as a holiday film. It's the only reason I judged it, and you knew it was going to be judgy because it was black and white and old.
Yeah,
But I was taken by the 2 leads. They were great.
Yeah,
they are fantastic. But I'm just going to throw this out here about the 3 of us and our decision. There's only like 7 good holiday movies out there. I mean, are we just going to keep bringing
that is untrue.
That's
Good. You're putting in good holiday movies.
I mean, it won't take us very long before we're bringing stuff from the Hallmark Channel, like A Christmas Prince.
Have you seen all the new horror holiday films that have come out?
Yeah, there's quite a few of them.
There's a ton of them coming out now. I mean, listen, that's what you wanted to do. Drew brought Eyes Wide Shut last year, so he set the precedent. I mean, what are you going to do? It is what it is. I don't know if we'll do it again next year if we're still around, but after this new format thing. But
well, did you hear that Peter Billingsley had Jan de Bont, who shot Die Hard? He had him on his podcast, which apparently is called A Cinematic Christmas Journey, and he basically got Jan de Bont to admit that Die Hard is a Christmas movie because it takes place at Christmas and has family stuff in it. And I was like, that is a pretty low standard. At least mine had, a lot of sex.
But yours not a lot and not enough actually. But yours is on many lists as a Christmas film.
Yes.
As I research this later, certainly Midnight Clear is not on any of those lists.
Well, it should
Thin
be.
Man
because
is
the
not on any of those
Christmas
lists.
spirit
No, I've seen the Thin Man on a
overcomes
list
the
or two.
war, at least for a little time period.
It's a fine film, Chris. I liked it.
I'm glad I watched them.
Hey, there was more alcohol. There was more alcohol in this movie than there was sex in Eyes Wide Shut.
There was some theaters wouldn't play it because of the amount of alcohol I was reading.
Yeah.
Because they are drinking all the time.
Yeah. They are. And I tell you what, they are
I like when
such
she
a-
woke him up. When she woke him up out of a sound sleep, and he goes makes himself a drink.
Well, it'll help him
And she goes,
sleep.
make one for me too.
No, it's funny. I'd heard about these. I had a friend. I used to work at Blockbuster Video, as I've mentioned before, and I had a friend. She
Ding, ding,
loved all the exactly. She loved all the Thin Man movies, and I'd never gotten around to seeing them. So I was happy to watch this one, and it really is. You're right. It's funny. You're watching the movie, and it's pretty basic. It's pretty grim. But then they show up, and they're fantastic. Especially Myrna Loy. She's just,
I love her.
I guess, what's the word? Effervescent. I think that's the way you say that. She's terrific, and she's beautiful, sexy, and just cool. You can see why. And apparently she's worth a million. So.
And this movie took her career in a whole different direction.
She didn't do comedy before this?
No,
Or she wasn't
was an ingenue. No.
She was a femme fatale in the silent
her
films.
entrance was
like
her
Lori
tripping over the
Anderson.
Christmas present.
I'm not taking him, he's taking
Are you hurt, madam? Are you hurt, madam?
Oh, women and children first, boys.
Say, what is the score anyway?
Oh, so it's you he was after.
Hello, sugar.
He's dragged me into every gin mill on the block.
That was her entrance. I mean,
and that was a big deal for her to do that, right? And it is the DNA is in every husband-wife detective show that came later, Macmillan and Wife. You start looking at all those shows,
Heart to Heart,
to Heart, all those
Classic.
kind of shows where it's that same relationship. So again, great. I think ultimately I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was a great film. I would never call it a holiday film though. But
Is it New Year's Eve? We should have picked after The Thin Man. One thing I didn't realize until I watched these two films back to back the same day, the sequel, is that it's time continuous. They leave New York like the day after a Christmas, after they solve this, and they arrive in San Francisco, and they're there today, New Year's Eve, they had just gotten off the train, so it's as if the two movies
The
were one.
sex train, you mean?
The sex train. I didn't see it go into a tunnel. It passed some cactuses, which is more disturbing imagery.
Sean is back.
Yeah. But no, I tell you what, also, if you do like William Powell and Myrna Loy, another film they're great in, not part of this series, is Libeled Lady, where she's been libeled by a newspaper, and they hire William Powell to sort of like seduce her and create a real scandal. She is just terrific. And also William Powell, of the great Hollywood period, I think he is one of the most underestimated actors in today's world. He could really play it all. He could play drama, and he could play comedy, and he really went out on a high note at the end when
Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, he ended with Mr. Rogers, which has this fantastic scene where Jack Lemmon has invited some nurses over to him because he thought they had some scotch, and they agreed to come out to the ship, but someone had drank the scotch. So William Powell he's the ship's doctor, looks at all the stuff and creates a passable scotch out of whatever chemicals they had.
He was the doctor in that, Mr. Roberts, right?
He was Doc.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there thinking, what better than having Nick Charles make scotch for you? And he was fantastic in that movie too. And I don't think he gets the love he deserves today, but he was really one of the classic stars. of Hollywood, and he really had a pretty wide range and a very naturalistic style in other movies as well.
And I was going to say that style that they pulled off, was that new for the films, or was that?
Yeah,
like,
that was like the cusp of the screwball comedy with the rapid fire dialogue. And their banter really was the start of that, because I disagree with Sean a little bit, because once he was playing a detective already,
Philo Vance, yeah.
So he had already had a series of detective movies. So for him to do this, which was so different from the other character, again, took his career in a whole different direction, because he followed this up soon with My Man Godfrey, which is considered one of the best screwball comedies of that era. And then he produced TV shows and directed. So he really had a booming career. But this set him off. Like the Thin Man itself isn't the character. The Thin Man is the dead body in the book, but he was identified as the Thin Man. So when people think the Thin Man, they think it's William Powell. It's not. It's the dead person. But he was so identified, and people were so upset that they weren't really married because of their banter. And the whole thing about this detective movie was that the murder and the investigation is the tiniest part about the film. That's not what anybody was interested in. All they were interested in, Nick and Nora with no kids, right? She never got jealous of him when women were flirting with him, because their marriage was strong. They really loved each other. She's the one who had the money, so he was living off of her money. So yeah, this was a lot different from others before it. And we always talk about a movie that sets the standard for the genre in the future. And this is definitely the one, like you said, Ralph, about the couple detectives. But, it's funny, even from 34, I still think they do it better than anybody else.
Yeah.
Because their chemistry was just so magical. And I think they made 7 of these. And Sean's right, they killed it with when they had the baby, because that changed the whole dynamic. But this was a B film. This was not expected to do anything. It was shot in a very short period of time. And after the Thin Man, which also has Jimmy Stewart in it, was a much bigger budget, and they did a lot more location filming with it.
Yeah, they actually shot in San Francisco.
That's right. Yeah, they did a lot of that. And the dog too. We haven't even talked about Asta, who became this gigantic star as a result of this film. So it really set their careers, and they both had long careers prior to this, but it took them in a completely different direction. And again, you look at that opening scene with him where he was doing the martinis. That was rehearsal. He didn't know they were filming, and the director just filmed it, and that's what they got. He said, "Just go up there."
You mean when he comes down to the bar and he's down there?
That was all ad lib. That wasn't in the script.
You have to shake it this way, like the foxtrot if it's a Manhattan.
Yeah. So it was just, I love this movie. I mean, I've seen this movie a bunch of times. But it's just for that, it's so of its time because of all the drinking that they do. In fact, as I was watching it, I forgot how much drinking they do. It's like nonstop, but it's still funny. And I still was finding myself laughing, even at that dinner that they had where he didn't really know who did it. And he's just trying to hope that somebody coughs it up, So I love this movie. I mean, it's just a wonderful film.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah, but all the other acting was Broadway. I mean, it was
all right. I mean,
especially the gangster, the guy,
every criminal,
gangster.
And that's a thread throughout the movie. He knows all these bad people, and they all know him.
But did the film Did they stay the same? Were they the only two that were naturalistic? Everybody else, Jimmy Stewart, I imagine, probably was pretty good.
He's a little over the top. I don't want to give it away, but he's a bad guy.
Nothing like what the two of them do together.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, but that's and when people would go to those movies, they didn't care about the other.
Yeah. That's his iPhone.
Yeah. Even the bad ones.
You're breaking up a little.
Me?
What?
Or John?
We can't see you. You've frozen.
Internet
there you go. Now you're back.
You're back.
I would say even the bad Thin Man movies
back,
are still
John. You're
good.
fine.
They're still enjoyable.
Yeah.
Just because of the chemistry between them.
All right. So this one, as we said, all the other ones, does this one go under the tree now that Christmas is done?
Wait. What about Drew?
I think Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist was a better movie. Although I haven't seen it in 15 years, so I don't know how well it holds up. but I found I had never seen any of the Thin Man movies. I thought it was cute. I didn't care about the mystery. I know that wasn't really the point anyway. I like a good period detective film, like Big Sleep, stuff like that. And the fact that it was pre-code, it was kind of fun watching this movie to see what would be considered offensive.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's like in the Big Sleep, there's a scene where Lauren Bacall's sister in the book has been photographed naked after she was given drugs. And in the movie, they go to that scene and the sister is just sort of leaning on a table and making faces because you can't be naked and you can't talk about drugs. And stop free flowing. And they felt more realistic here, except that their realism was we have lots of money and we drink all the time and we're kind of charming. But I didn't care for it. I wouldn't put it under the tree because it's a bad film, and I don't think it.
I knew.
I'm saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not a bad film.
Yeah,
but it's not a film that I felt strongly about, and it's as much of a holiday film as any of the other movies that we've accused of not being holiday films.
That's true.
So
I agree with you on that one.
I don't like. It didn't make me want to see the other 17 of them or whatever.
Right. John, you're still frozen. I don't know what your deal is.
I don't know what to tell
You
you.
might have to call
Yeah, but it
dial in
looks
again.
so good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you. I will say though, I looked
Not
up
a bad
the films of 1934. There's a lot of big movies from 1934. Like It Happened One Night, Imitation of Life, Cleopatra, The Man Who Knew Too Much.
Big year then.
Merry
Yeah.
Widow.
It Happened One Night
Divorcee.
swept the Oscars that year.
Yeah, lots of stuff that year.
I like that.
Death Takes a
film.
Holiday.
That one I like.
That's a great film.
Yeah.
And neither one of
Paige
them wanted
Vale.
to do that film.
Wow.
Clark Gable and Claudia Colbert wanted nothing to do with that film.
Well, actors aren't that bright, I guess.
No, they're not.
Turns out they're not so bright.
Can you hear me better?
What?
You can hear you, but it's still a little low. You probably have to turn something up. It's been a while since you've been on, so technically.
Did you send him the package?
I did. I sent it in the specs. All right. So it's, I guess it's 4 under the tree and 1 not under the tree for this last of our holiday films, 2023.
Well, there were some interesting choices. I know we're going to jump into other stuff, but I do want to say I really kind of wish I was there for the episode on Carol, because you guys hit a lot of the stuff I would have gone for. I looked at that film completely differently the second time I saw it this time. And, Ralph, you were talking about how she was kind of like a predator.
Not kind of, she was, but okay. Yeah.
And I felt that it wasn't, I wish it didn't have this quote unquote nearly happy ending, because I felt that they were just looking at each other as objects,
I thought Carol helped her grow a little bit and vice versa. I mean, I didn't feel that I felt there was a real relationship that was going to happen.
Well,
ultimately.
this reminded me of Shop Girl, that Steve Martin film where the wiser older man, that's a film you don't get to see playing much anymore. That's very politically incorrect in our time. I think that was his last theatrical feature, if I'm not mistaken, where he's the older man, rich older man who takes the young girl under his wing. And that's sort of what this was, except this was had that whole Douglas Sirk feel to it throughout.
Right.
It was a beautiful film, and I would of course have to point out that I had met numerous times the cinematographer Ed Lockman. He even invited me to stay at his apartment in New York because he used to shoot a lot of commercials for us, and I would have to oftentimes go to the set of a theatrical feature and pick him up, but not tell anyone where we were going. So
sounds like you can really relate to Carol.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what kind of a thing was that? How old were you?
Now that's
yeah.
yeah.
He was a very nice guy, and he was so hot because I think the film, his breakthrough was Less Than Zero or something.
Okay.
Which was a big film back.
You mean hot as a cinematographer?
Hot as a cinematographer.
Did you guys take a road trip and then one morning you discovered Nick and Nora were staying next to you and recording everything? Because they're detectives also. So.
An infinite playlist.
Yeah, I gave them.
That's what the sexy.
I just watched May December on Netflix.
Oh yeah, how was that?
Haynes' film. It's okay. There's one scene though he does in a dress shop where he shoots. His whole thing with mirrors and double exposures and stuff. There's a scene in a dress shop where he's shooting through mirrors. It's just really well done, well directed, well shot.
Like Lady from Shanghai.
I don't know. I've never seen it. I hate to say.
Oh,
Yeah.
you haven't?
No.
Wow.
Yeah, at least have to see that
They
sequence.
cut that scene way down. That was a much longer scene, that mirror scene. The House of
Yeah.
I'll have
Mirrors.
to check it out. But this is Todd Haynes, doing his thing with Julianne Moore. So,
Natalie Portman, right?
yeah.
Julianne Moore, I gotta
it's a little
say,
icky, but
I heard, what's his name? Charles Melton? Is that who plays the victim who then grows up to be the
whoever
husband?
plays him does a great job playing.
I heard he's amazing. He's a lot of penis for John to see, and is a really good performance.
There was
as an
I didn't
actor,
see any
so.
penis in there.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I don't
No.
know. John, you'll let me know if there's penis in there.
There was
okay,
none,
buddy?
John. Don't worry, you can see.
there's
it.
some here.
There's no. I would believe me.
John, put it away.
If I had seen penis, I would have told John to watch it right away, but there wasn't, so I didn't. So.
This is.
Oh, see, John, you said you weren't going to do that, and you did.
No,
All right, so
I
let's
said-
start.
I said
2023.
once. I wouldn't repeat
2023. Give me your thoughts. Anybody start? Chris.
Actually, I'm just happy to say I made it back to the movies a lot more in 2023 than I had in years prior. I'm glad to see that while overall I still think box office is down, it was nice to see some real breakouts that were not necessarily massive tentpole movies, or at least part of huge franchises. I'm primarily thinking of like Oppenheimer, which was fantastic, even given its length. Even with that, Christopher Nolan is he's the man. But also, and I rewatched it because it was on HBO or Max, I guess they call it now. But man, Barbie's just really, really good. I really enjoyed that movie from top to bottom. I can't tell you how much. I will not be surprised in the slightest if it wins Best Picture and Greta Gerwig wins Best Director. Won't be surprised in the slightest because it's pretty fantastic. I don't think Margot Robbie will win for Best Actress, but I do think America Ferrera is going to win as Best Supporting Actress. That's my call. It's my dark horse call.
John, are you shaking your head because you've seen the movie and have a thoughtful response that you want to share with us? Or
No, I'm
have
fat.
you not seen it yet?
I hang on Chris's every word.
Well, Chris brought up the two films I was going to but mention was Oppenheimer and Barbie, right? Yeah. This is the year of that. And it brought up to me, and I don't want to get political about this, but I'm going to, but this whole woke versus broke as far as movies go with Disney and everybody complaining about the Disney movies. And Barbie was one of those that's a completely, if you look at it from one perspective, is a completely woke film that made billions of dollars, right? It's just a well-made film. And that's what people want to see. They want to see well-made films. They don't care politically what's going on. And this was one that the right wing went crazy over. They were burning Barbie dolls and doing all kinds of stuff. And, they love the idea that Disney's going broke because of what they're doing in their.
Well, they had 17 films that failed at the box office, right?
I was at Disney World last week, so believe me, I spent some money. They'll be fine.
Well, their parks are always going to do well. Yeah. But I don't know. You're telling me 17 Disney films lost money?
Yeah.
Yeah. They took a bath last year, Ralph.
I think there was one that made money.
It was their worst year ever last year.
And you think that's because they're woke?
Oh, no.
Because of the woke agenda.
I just think.
Or maybe just superhero movies are done.
Yeah.
But also all the Pixar movies, the animated films didn't do well either.
What's your I'm curious about this because since you brought it up.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Barbie is woke as shit. Everybody knows it. It's the patriarchy. They hate men. Okay, so fine, whatever.
But you haven't seen it.
It still made $1 billion, right? Because to your point, it was different. It had a great look to it. Yep. People wanted to go see that movie. Okay,
the trailer was non-political.
Look at all the other woke movies that came out last year, and almost every one of them bombed. Now you're telling me it's superhero fatigue? I don't buy it for a second.
That's
Guardians
what I'm telling
of the Galaxy did fantastic.
Yeah, that one did well.
Because that one's well written. That's
supposed to be a good movie.
There you go, Ralph. That's the difference right there.
But that has nothing to do with wokeness. That has to do with the film being well written.
If you're going to promote a movie, and before it even comes out, all you're going to talk about to promote your film is how diverse it is.
Nobody talks about that. They're showing
Well,
that.
Ralph, you want to? I
Well,
will
what
play
about the upcoming Snow
you, I
White?
will play you the clips of the
The one they're
actors,
doing with Ben
directors coming
Shapiro,
out
that one, or the
talking
one
about
Disney's doing?
the diversity
Disney.
instead of we got a great story here to tell.
Who's
and which is
talking
what-
about the diversity? The ads are talking about the diversity.
No, you look at the interviews with the performers in
Well,
these
of course
films
they're
and
going to
the
push.
directors, and that's what they talk about first.
Well,
as
first of all,
opposed
Disney
to-
shouldn't be remaking their old properties anyway. I mean, if you want
But-
my opinion on that,
Okay, fine.
I
but
work
don't
for them. I
come
shouldn't
out-
be saying this, but they
You
they
can't
shouldn't be-
come out. You can't. The person who's playing Snow White can't then come out and trash the animated film, which is what she did. You know,
Yeah.
the prince was like a stalker, and
A
it's
little
like, and as a result of that, they pushed it off another year because it's garbage, and they know it's going to fail like all the other movies. So you can sit here and talk about Barbie, which, by the way, is an exception to the rule because of how it was made and it was different. And the cast, you know, Margot Robbie is great, right?
Great trailer,
Ryan
too.
Gosling's great, but the rest of the movies, they're so focused. People who like those movies like good stories. They don't want a message in every single film. And Disney is
Here's the
putting
problem,
out,
John. Here's the problem, though. I'll tell you what I think the problem is. Just by flipping, like, let's talk about The Little Mermaid. The uproar that went over because they hired an African American to play the Little Mermaid is ridiculous. It's a film. A mermaid can be any color you want it to be. They're made up creatures anyway.
not if you're remaking
except for the lore. Those are
animated
real.
movie.
They were real in the lore.
If
But
you're remaking the
Yeah, they
animated
were.
movie and not the original Little Mermaid story, I totally get what you're saying, but you're remaking the animated version. Did you
Right.
see the videos on TikTok with all the little kids, black and white, talking about that's not Ariel. That doesn't look anything like Ariel.
well, I mean, okay, we got.
oh, what? They're all right wingers, right? That's
No,
what
no,
you're
I'm not saying they're all wingers. I'm just saying get over it. I mean, it's
Well,
ridiculous.
okay, fine. But then don't say
But you can't
There's
tell the
superhero
audience to get
fatigue.
over it. They'll either go or they
it's
won't
not
go.
working.
I think you can say to the audience, it's time to grow up a little bit.
it's not
Okay,
working.
but that's
Ralph.
not working.
The box
The
office
Barbie
is
Well,
film-
then there's a problem with the audience.
Oh, see, so blame the audience. I
It's
love that.
deplorable.
I love that.
I'm
Blame
going to
the
say
audience.
I blame the audience. I blame.
But
the
I will say
55-year-old
superhero
adults
fatigue is a
who wear
factor.
their
It is, but
Avengers
this
t-shirts
last
in the movie
Spider-Man movie
theater.
made $1 billion. Why? Because none of that crap was in it.
You know, I missed the Indiana Jones film. I did want to see that one. That was
Bomb.
a disaster.
Bomb.
But that
You know
wasn't
which one
woke.
surprised me?
Marvel,
If we're on our thing is that the Mission Impossible film didn't do better. Kind of surprised
That
me.
surprised me because I really did like that movie.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I think what happened there is, I think I'm sorry, but I think the expectations were too high. Somebody
That's
thought it
cruise
was gonna-
fatigue.
they thought it was going to play like a sequel to Maverick when let's be realistic, the Mission Impossible movies domestically have been mediocre at best for the last 3 or 4 outings. They do fantastic business overseas,
Yeah.
but I think people thought it was going to do Maverick numbers because here it comes. It's because they thought it was going to be, because Tom Cruise did Maverick, which had, let's be real, had 30 plus years of like
Yeah.
nostalgia wrapped up in it. And like I said before, I didn't even think Maverick was that good, but
No, I think you're right. I think that did hurt it because that was so
people
huge.
thought it was going to be Maverick Part
Right.
2 / Top Gun 3, and it wasn't. It was. And another thing is I'm sorry. I mean, I think to a certain extent, people get tired of seeing Part 1, especially on a Mission Impossible movie.
It also wasn't as good as the last Mission Impossible. The last
Well, and they
Mission-
had a year of hype they hyped it for a year. I mean,
Yeah,
well, they
when you
hyped
actually
the stunt more than anything.
the stunt.
Right?
They hyped
Everyone
the
knew
stunt.
that
That's my
stunt.
point. And when you actually
Yeah.
saw the stunt, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
It was
There's
the
a lot
YouTube
more
stuff-
exciting
the
stunts in that
YouTube
movie.
footage- What was that, Drew?
There's a lot more exciting stunts in that movie. That's a cool stunt, but I mean, the
Yeah.
car chase in Rome,
Oh, there's
Yeah,
tons
the
of
train falling off the bridge.
I
Like,
love
there's
the
just
Mission
some crazy
Impossible
fun
yeah.
stuff in it. Yeah.
I love the franchise, but I was disappointed with that last film. And I can't explain why I was disappointed. And I think it just might be cruise fatigue. It's like you're looking at a guy at this age who shouldn't be doing that shit. And you kind of go, okay, this is all make believe.
I don't.
Well, but
I
he
don't know
feeds
if
on
that's
younger brunettes, and he swapped out for a younger one.
Really?
this
Yeah.
time,
Well,
so-
I'd chase after her. But I think Chris is right. I think the expectation was it's going to be like Maverick, and frankly, for people who love that series, I think the last film was better.
But what was it about
Fallout,
Maverick?
you mean?
What were you expecting about Maverick? That
I
don't
think
go in-
people
I
just
go into
wanted to
Mission
go
Impossible
back to the
thinking about
movies.
because
Maverick.
it's Cruise, because
Right.
it's big, it's going to be do as much business
Yeah,
as Maverick.
I think people
Oh, just
thought
the
it was
business
going
from
to
a
do
business
Maverick
standpoint.
numbers. Yeah, from a
Yeah.
business. I'm sorry, from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
And you do occasionally have that. Like what was going back to superhero movies just for a second, like Captain America: Civil War, right?
Yeah.
I love the Captain America films. But it literally played like Avengers 2.5, because it had a ton of superheroes in it, had as many as Avengers had, if not more, right? So it actually played almost like a sequel to Avengers 2, leading into kind of, almost like closing off and then leading into Infinity War and Endgame, And I still say, as far as when it comes to the superhero movies, man, I've said it before, I don't know how you're going to build up to that Infinity War / Endgame peak again. It's not going to happen. And then, like I said, you throw in the death of, the Black Panther,
Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman. He was going to be the guy, super charismatic. He was going to be the guy to keep things alive. And man, fate came in, and especially for him. I mean, it was worse for him than anybody else.
Yeah.
Maybe the Avengers can be about breaking Jonathan Majors out of prison.
Yeah.
Drew, does that cat follow you all day long, or you just bring him out for the podcast? Him or her? Is it she or he? What is that?
She lives down here by herself because she does not care for the other animals. She does love me.
I'll say that.
The whole for the past year plus, maybe more, she's been down here with me. This whole I've got to hang out on the old Israel Defense Forces jacket and try and lick your head. That's relatively recent. So it's a new level of love.
Well,
maybe.
she's part of the show now.
Yeah, she's a good girl.
What else? Movies wise, I mean, I think the big standout to me was that Godzilla -1.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, hands down.
I didn't see it. I just
still
saw
making
kids'
money.
movies.
Yeah. I can't get over it. I've been watching all the old Godzilla films too. I've been watching
so
them
have
all.
I. TC was running them all.
And it's
Oh,
amazing
God,
how
yes,
shitty
some
the
of
new
them are
ones
horrible.
are. Like the Monarch ones that they've done.
I don't agree with
Godzilla
that.
King of the.
Have you been watching Monarch, Drew?
I've watched 4 episodes. I'm a couple of episodes behind.
It
I've heard
started
it
off
continues
so
to
good,
be
but it's
entertaining,
getting
but not as
so-
good.
It's getting so dumb. It's
Ugh.
like I said before.
That's Apple
Scooby-Doo.
Plus, right?
It's Scooby Doo.
Yeah, it's Apple.
Kurt Russell's the best thing in it, and he's hardly in the episodes now, which really
That's
bums
too
me.
bad.
Yeah.
You never go wrong with more Kurt Russell. I mean,
I'm telling you what,
That's true.
he's fantastic. But they got these 3 kids doing all this spy stuff, and they're just 3 kids. They're not.
like kids, not like 20-year-olds, but like 14-year-olds.
Those are kids.
No,
20-year-olds are
they're-
kids, by the way.
I know, but like
they're in their early 20s.
Okay, yeah.
But they're doing covert spy stuff after one's a teacher and she gets thrown into this and they're using her for spy. It's just it got so ridiculous. I'm still watching it, but it got ridiculous.
Well, I watched the original. I have the original Godzilla on Laserdisc.
Yeah,
with no
Would you ever-
subtitles. Right, so I had to watch it. No. And that's kind of a funny movie. I ordered a Blu-ray with the 2 of them because I want to see the Raymond Burr version, which
Right.
everybody,
Yeah.
all these famous directors talk about. That's the film that got them into doing what they're doing. But even watching the
It's
Japanese
entertaining.
version,
Yeah.
without subtitles, there's not a lot of Godzilla in that film. It's really all the characters.
Yeah.
Right.
And when he shows up, he is the guy in the suit, but it's really the characters. And I kind of wish now, when I get the Blu-ray, I'll get the translations and everything. But it's fun to watch after seeing that -1, which is just incredibly.
Well, I'll tell you something.
Incredible that he made that film.
I was thinking about the best movies I've seen for 2023, and I put Oppenheimer right up there.
Sure.
But for me, it's Godzilla -1 because it's the one that I haven't stopped thinking about since I saw it,
Same.
and it's the one I want to see again.
Yep.
And it's the one I'm telling everybody I know, go see this movie. You're really gonna, and it's not just a great Godzilla movie; it's a great movie. And the director, they said the budget was $15 million. The director came out and said, "I wish I had $15 million for this movie." So I don't even now. I'm sure they'll make a sequel, and I'm sure they're going to throw a truckload of money at him because it did so well. But for me, out of all the movies that came out, that's the one that resonates with me still. I still think about that and how good it was. And I still watch the stuff on YouTube where you're going down the rabbit hole. It was just so good. And I've always watched the old Godzilla movies, and I'm watching a lot more of the first and the second one, and then the third one where he fights a crab monster or something. But the evolution of him from a nuclear bomb allegory to, or atom bomb, to a friend of the children, you see it progress because the costume changed.
Mothra's friend of children.
What was that?
Isn't it Mothra who likes the children?
Well, she has
Well,
twins.
no. Well,
to control her.
Godzilla ends up
Gamera loves
a
the children.
protector of the Earth,
Right.
and in Godzilla minus
Well,
one,
a
you hope
protector
that
of
they kill him.
a protector of Japan.
Of Japan, that's true.
Because I think that's an important distinction because, and I'm not saying one is better than the other because I enjoy both of them, but the Japan, the original conception of Godzilla, which is absolutely part of, the most serious movies and the silliest movies, is Godzilla is a monster that's basically our fault in Japan, or our fault as humans because we dropped atomic weapons on Japan, or because we have toxic waste like in Shin Godzilla, or we did something terrible to natural things. And in the American movies, the legendary MonsterVerse movies, which by the way is one of the most consistent franchises somehow, they the monsters are all, they call them Titans.
Right.
And they're all they're eternal. Godzilla is ancient and comes to restore balance to nature and so, and all that stuff is fine. But the Godzilla of Godzilla minus one, the idea of that Godzilla, it's just more interesting. Whereas the giant monsters in the American ones are super fun, but it's not, it doesn't make you think. And I feel the same way about Godzilla minus one. I keep thinking about it. I'm concerned it will take a year to get a disc out for it because it took a long time for Shin Godzilla, but I'm hoping that they will get it together. Although they're going to re-release it in Japan. The ads are running in Japan. They're now saying Godzilla minus one minus color because they've got a black and white version because that's the thing to do now.
That
So
would
it's
be
going to
cool.
come out in black and white. And I honestly sometimes that just seems a little superfluous, but I would watch that. I would check that out because of the 70 years of Godzilla.
Yeah.
It's great stuff. It's totally great stuff.
Yeah, I was watching the TCM too, and it's like I was watching Astro Monsters, where aliens control
Rodan
and Godzilla and all, and it was just so silly. I mean, the original ones that were actually, it's frightening. It's like Godzilla's going to kill everyone, but then it's it's sort of like they're teams. There's good monsters, there's bad monsters. It's kind of like the Marvel universe with monsters and all. But I'll tell you, one of my greatest movie-going memories, and this happened a couple years in a row, at our local theater, the Arcade, which is kind of like a grindhouse. Every Halloween, or that Saturday of Halloween, they would show Destroy All Monsters.
Oh, yeah.
And you could get in for free. And it was such a fire hazard because every seat was taken, and the aisles were filled with people just sitting in the aisles. And they would show, Godzilla Destroy All Monsters. And, so that is definitely a sentimental favorite. But that original Godzilla movie, it's pretty good. It's a man in a suit, but, it's a pretty compelling film.
I say that only to say that, but I thought the film without the subtitles, it's fascinating to watch it after seeing Godzilla minus one, because that's all character driven as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the monster isn't in very much. He's much more impactful in Godzilla minus one because he's definitely wiping out 30,000 people at a time.
Well, and he's not in it. He's actually in the runtime. He's not in it much.
That's what I mean. It's not that much.
There
it's
are
more
consequences.
About, yeah.
And again, you're rooting for the characters to kill Godzilla,
right?
And that's hasn't been what all in the Monarch movies and the 70s Godzilla. It was an anti-hero. That he was a good guy. Well, in this movie, he's not, and the devastation is real. And you're like that whole thing where he's in the boat. Is he gonna get the boat like out of Jaws? And you're like, kill him.
Yeah, straight out of Jaws. Yeah,
yeah.
So, let's talk about the one Godzilla, the Matthew Broderick one.
I was gonna just mention that because I watched that this weekend.
Horrible.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's amazing how shitty that was.
You know what? I got it.
I didn't really see that when it came out.
Oh, I did.
I didn't like it, but I
see it.
Great
ads. Yeah, great.
I remember seeing that
ads.
film. I went with a friend of mine. She and I were watching this movie, and I just remember at probably about an hour and a half or an hour 45 minutes into it, I turned on and I was like, "Is it me or is this movie just really loud?" And she was like, "Yeah, it's kind of hurting my head." The funny thing about that Godzilla movie is and I know they threw it in there for whatever reason, but if they had just, and you could have completely cut it out. I mean, it would probably be about $30 million, but it's like a 25-minute sequence where the baby Godzillas are in the Madison Square Garden.
Because they were going for the Raptors.
Yeah, they were trying to do the Jurassic Park thing with the velociraptor.
That was a lot longer than 25 minutes. That went on forever.
If you cut that out, that movie would have at least been a tolerable length. It still wouldn't have been good, but at least it would have been.
Well, it's funny. I watched
the whole concept. The whole concept of that Godzilla doesn't feel like Godzilla, because one thing Godzilla doesn't do is run away in the city, and he runs away the whole movie. And the only image I can remember from that movie that was really striking, because I sometimes feel bad for Godzilla, because at the end of the day he's an animal. Mm-hmm. And he's trapped in, I guess it's the Brooklyn Bridge. He's trapped in the cables. That's a very striking image. That's literally the only thing that pops in my head. That, and when Hank Azaria gets stepped on, but he's between the toes, type of thing. But that implies that there could be a better movie. But I don't think there could be a better Godzilla movie out of that version of it. It's just,
when you read all this stuff about it, he didn't want to direct it. Nobody wanted to direct it. He did it I don't know why he decided to do it.
He was also limited on the look.
Right. They had rules. Toho had rules.
A whole bunch of rules there.
Yeah.
What's interesting, though, is later on, a few years later, Toho made a movie where old school Godzilla, what we kind of think of as Godzilla, fights the Godzilla from that movie, the same looking thing. So it actually kills that Godzilla.
Yeah, they don't even call that one Godzilla. I can't remember. It has an insulting name for it.
But if you remember the ad campaign, it was a great ad campaign. They had the T-Rex from Jurassic Park.
Yes.
And then Godzilla's foot crushed it.
Yeah.
So also
they had all that stuff he's taller than this building, and they'd put an actual striped a measuring tape looking thing along an entire 10-story building, or his penis is bigger than this bus, all this kind of stuff that was this movie's going to be really big, and like you said, it was really loud, but it wasn't good. That's one of the
thing.
I bought it to test my sound system
compared to the marketing. That's one of the worst ones.
-1 and even Shin Godzilla, it was all in the rain. The whole movie was in the rain.
Oh, it was awful. Yeah,
that's CGI for you.
Annoying because CGI wasn't quite where they needed it to be. So that's why they did that. But it was just.
And they're all wearing wetsuits under there. Did you read that story about Matthew Broderick?
No.
Couldn't figure out why his wetsuit had a zipper in the back. He had, every time he'd have to go to the set, he'd do this whole thing. And Hank Azaria, one of them was there, and they pull off his shirt and he sees the wetsuit with the zipper up front. And he goes, "Where'd you get that fancy one with the zipper up front?" He goes, "What are you talking about? They all zip up front." So that's the funniest thing out of that film. But yeah, the rain is just unrelenting and stupid.
Oh, but let's talk about Matthew Broderick. I saw that Netflix film. What is it? No Hard Feelings?
He plays the dad too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's a Netflix movie specific.
No, it's on Netflix.
It's
That's
on
with
Netflix.
Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah.
He gets naked. Big time.
How's she look?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I like her.
That's the fight on the beach. That's a riot. She gets naked.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
fighting on the
movie.
beach. Yeah. It's pretty good. That was a pretty good one. Yeah.
Yeah. But he looked old. It's like, oh my God.
He is old, Sean. He's old.
I mean,
but he looks
was in his
at Tom
late 20s
Cruise
when he
doesn't.
did Ferris Bueller, wasn't he?
Yeah. He's been around. Did the cat eat the light? Oh. Yeah, so that was what
It was Godzilla.
what were we just talking about? What film? I just lost my train of thought.
No Hard Feelings.
No hard
No
feelings.
Hard Feelings.
Thank you.
No hard feelings.
Anything else stand out in 2023 for you guys?
Well, as far as comedies that are built around sex, there were two movies that were incredibly funny that were much better than No Hard Feelings. And I thought No Hard Feelings was pretty good. And that's Joyride and especially Bottoms. Bottoms is one of the funniest movies I've seen in so long.
That's streaming right
basically a couple of lesbian high school losers make a fight club so that they can kiss cheerleaders. And it's fantastic. It's like Heathers meets Wet Hot American Summer, and none of that should work. And it all works incredibly well. And it's by the woman who did Shiva Baby. And that's another one like Godzilla -1. I'm like, I need to watch that again. It's just so entertaining. I need to watch that again. That was a lot.
What's the other one? Joyride?
Joyride is the one about the 4 Chinese women that grew up in the States, and then they basically go back to China for a variety of reasons to trace their roots, and it's all sex and drugs and misunderstandings, and it's so funny. It would not pass the Hays Code, and it's very, very funny.
Have you guys all seen The Hangover?
The original one, sure.
Yeah. Do you all like that?
Yeah, very much.
The first one's funny.
I just met someone who hadn't seen it.
That's
I said
funny.
that's one of the funniest movies.
I really enjoyed it.
Hilarious. And he's never
It was
seen.
Bridesmaids for Guys.
You got to come over to the house and watch this movie.
Well, Bridesmaid come out long after The Hangover.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, okay.
But it's
Also,
so
I saw Poor Things, the
how about that?
the new Yorgos Lanthimos movie. I saw it with 3 other people. I liked it the least of the 4 of us, and I still think it's a very good movie.
What did you say?
It owes a lot to Dogtooth and stuff. But,
Poor Things.
Poor Things.
Okay.
It's basically Yorgos Lanthimos doing Frankenstein surrealism. It's Willem Dafoe and Emma Stone, who's I'll be shocked if she doesn't win an Oscar. I mean, there's the stuff that she does, the choices that she makes are really kind of incredible, and I would recommend that to everybody. And that's another movie. It's like Godzilla -1. It's only in like 800 theaters, but it's made something like $10 million.
Oh.
So that's a movie that's really, really finding the audience. And I saw that at the Charles. I hadn't been to the Charles in a million years, and it was the classic art house laughing kind of thing. But it was really good. It was
Has
really,
anyone
really
seen The
good.
Holdovers yet?
No, it just came on Peacock.
Yeah, it just came on Peacock. I
I
want
do
to
wanna
see
watch
it.
that.
Cool.
You know,
Yeah,
I want to say something that Chris said earlier. I was glad, even though this year.
Why would you say it if Chris already said it? I don't understand.
Yeah, but I just want to support his opinion. That
Oh, okay.
I was glad to see now that COVID's over in the theaters that there are films coming out that aren't just tentpoles and franchises.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that they're starting to have some good films coming out again. And there were always art houses, like in Baltimore, if you went to Charles, there were always, you know, there was always a Jim Jarmusch film or something. But, you know, it's good to see at the multiplex.
Mm-hmm.
You could see the occasional like film that was based on a book or an original idea. And it's always, you know, the only like original films you were seeing in the immediate post-COVID would be like horror films, you know, like mid-budget, $5 to $10 million horror films were the only things that weren't like, you know, studio IP, you know. So it's good to see some more films out there now, and I'm glad to see it, even though I didn't see as many films as I normally do.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons.
I'm looking to check out Ferrari, which is the
Yeah, I'll watch that.
Who saw Napoleon? Did you like it?
I think Chris did.
I saw it. My issue with Napoleon really simply was just that it really felt like a Cliff Notes version of Napoleon. I mean, Napoleon, the man led for, you know, pro or con, he led a life that is outsized in so many ways, you know. It's really amazing. He's one of those kind of guys that you almost think to yourself these days, it almost doesn't seem possible to have a life like that, like almost like this Alexander the Great, Caesar style, kind of bigger than history almost life. So when they condensed it even into 2 hours and 40 minutes, it felt like I said before, it felt like a Cliff Notes version. But it's beautiful. It's Ridley Scott. It's beautiful.
But is it sweeping, or do they take a year in his life? Is it?
No, it's sweeping. It's from almost the very beginning to all the way through Waterloo and Saint Michael or
And that night at Waterloo, that's when Napoleon.
Waterloo, yeah. I will say this: the Battle at Waterloo is phenomenal, though. It's beautiful.
I think it's already out of the theaters, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah.
It's a pity. I would like a film like that to make a lot of money, so they'll make more like it. But you know, what was really disappointing was that movie about Alexander the Great that Oliver Stone did. I so wanted that to be good. Many years.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, it was no Troy.
Hey, Troy
I actually watched Troy again recently and enjoyed
Troy
it. I didn't like it at the theaters.
And Troy, at least, you know, Troy kind of said, "Hey, we know what we are. You know,
Yeah.
we're gonna have a lot of hot bodies, and we're gonna have a lot of action sequences."
And then they also have Peter O'Toole, like actually acting. He's heartbreaking in that movie.
Yeah,
it's kind of it doesn't fit, but it's kind of amazing.
No, yeah, I actually thought they might throw him up for Best Supporting Actor for that one. But then he was in that movie. What was that movie? He got nominated one last time for Best Actor. The movie's called like Venus. I was going to say, I think it's called Venus.
Yeah,
I
never saw that.
Once again, he didn't win. The man's been acted. He was nominated what, like 8 times? I think
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. but never won.
He never won.
He got an honorary award, but
I thought he won for
almost
my
didn't-
He
favorite.
didn't win for Lawrence of Arabia.
Nope, but he didn't.
My favorite
He
year,
did
he
not.
didn't win. I thought he won my
No,
favorite
he was
year.
nominated, but
He
he
never
didn't win.
won.
Oh.
He won for, like I said, he was nominated a bunch of times, but never won. In fact, he almost did not accept the honorary Lifetime Achievement Award they were going to give him because he said he felt like he was still very much in his prime and very much, quote unquote, in the game. And that's an award you give to people who are about to die,
That's right.
Yeah.
basically, is what he was saying. So,
Like Raquel Welch,
Hmm.
who we lost this year.
He would have been a great Joker in his younger days.
he could have been, yeah.
He looks just like the comic version.
Yeah, he could have. I don't know if he would have gone in for that, though. He seems a little, I just remember one
Adult.
time, I just saw him like in, I don't know if you ever look up him and Richard Harris when they would go on the David Letterman show. One time he came out on the David Letterman show on a camel and like a martini in hand, just like oozing charm. He was just so cool. Anyway,
Well, he was great in my favorite year. I mean, my favorite year, he
great
was
actor.
playing
He's
up his.
phenomenal.
I think he was
But
playing up
him,
his.
Richard Burton, and Richard Harris, all they were drinking buddies.
Oh yeah, like
A regular Nick and Nora.
All right, one last thing. So I spent I spent New Year's Day watching all the versions of the Kane Mutiny, not the black and white film, but it turns out Robert Altman directed one for television.
What black and white version is there, Ralph? Because I don't know a black and white version of.
Well,
Kane.
the old one we watched, the old timey
the
one.
color
with
one.
Yeah,
The color one.
What I didn't
Yeah.
realize was all the other versions, that version of that we saw with Humphrey Bogart shows what happens on the.
That's right.
Right,
All the versions you see are based on the play.
Right. So I watched the Robert Altman version with Brad Davis playing Queeg.
Yeah.
And then the last one Friedkin directed with Kiefer Sutherland.
How was that? I haven't seen that.
It's not as good as the Altman version. It's interesting. They flip things around because that one actually takes place in 2022. So some things slightly changed.
So is it woke?
No, it's not really woke. I wouldn't call.
Oh,
Oh,
then
yes,
it's probably
yes.
good.
The
Is the
prosecutor,
lawyer male or
the
female?
prosecutor is a woman.
There you
Oh,
go.
what are they
There you go.
thinking?
Oh my
Women are
God, that's
people?
what I mean. And then
There
some of
you
the
go.
people,
yeah,
the people
because no, you should update that. Yeah.
oh,
definitely.
and the admiral was an African American guy, the poor guy that
Oh
passed
my
away.
God, what are they
Yeah.
thinking?
So they definitely changed some things around.
Andre
those crazy
Brower?
bastards. What's
Why
that?
update it? Why
Is it Andre
update to
Brower?
2022. I don't understand that. Why?
Yeah,
Just
African-American
update
guy,
it. Why
yeah.
not? Why not? I mean, the other version's been out. Everybody's done the 50th, whatever year that's supposed to have taken place.
That black and white version.
And they're not showing anything.
World
They didn't
War
show
II.
anything. It's just like the play.
yeah.
I thought
Well, they
Altman
updated the
version,
new one.
Altman
They
did his Altman
updated.
stuff where there's side
Mhm.
things happening while the thing was going on, which I really enjoyed. And Brad Davis did a pretty good job playing Queeg.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Altman. I literally tonight when my son gets allergy shots, so he has to hang around for like 30 minutes. So I literally got to the Altman section in Easy Riders and Raging Bulls. He's just starting to make MASH. That's a great book, by the way. If anyone here
I
hasn't read
told
it.
you that book.
I
is-
have
No,
given
I
that book
can't believe
away
I'm
to
so
like
late
8
to it.
different people, and I always buy a new copy of it. It is probably the best one, one of the best books about filmmaking ever.
Mhm.
Definitely the
Yeah.
best book about the 70s.
I read that one every couple of years actually because
That's
it really is. It's that good. So, any other thoughts about 2023 before we wrap up?
Yes. There were a couple of deaths that really upset me in the past month, I guess, or a few weeks. Andre Brower
Yeah, he's
dying
great.
very young at 61. Tom Wilkinson died. And
I heard he was,
Shecky Green died. I didn't even know he was still alive. He was
Yeah,
97.
Shecky Green.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how about that, huh?
Crazy. But yeah, Andre Brower, I didn't realize like he had done even more theater than I thought. Like he had done, he was Hal in Henry IV Part 1. Like I can't even imagine what it would have been like to see Andre Brower do Shakespeare. I mean, it wasn't a really incredible. And I think David Simon said something like, I've worked with a lot of great actors. I'll never work with one as good as Andre Brower ever again.
Did they ever
I
say
believe
what happened to him? Did they ever?
Yeah,
say?
it was I think a lung cancer.
Yeah,
Oh, geez.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because they said a brief illness, and then later they
They said it was-
they
Oh,
disclosed
so he
that it was
kept
lung
that quiet.
cancer.
So
Yeah.
Tom
Really
Wilkinson, Michael Gambone passed away as well. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, Michael Gambon, wonderful.
And
actor.
Raquel Welch.
She passed away this year.
I
Yeah.
thought it
this
was
year?
this year, wasn't it?
Suzanne Summers as well.
Yeah, she passed away this year.
Yeah.
That's the one. 1967, Raquel Welch. That's the one right there. Boom.
In the cavewoman
bang.
outfit.
No, just
1 million years BC.
smoking. Oh, she was
Oh
smoking.
my goodness, that poster. I hope she made $1 off every one.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
And Lee Sun-kyun, the father of the rich family in Parasite.
Oh,
he
that's a
died
very
in
sad story.
Terribly sad story. Just like I'm totally blanking on his name, that actor that we really liked from PK and Byom-Kesh Bakshi, who died kind of mysteriously and manipulated by other people, and there were drugs involved and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, they had
really
a long interrogation before he died. Something he was in some interrogation.
Drugs must be very
They picked him up 3
serious in
times.
South
They interrogated him
Korea.
for 19 hours. He said he was being blackmailed, that he wasn't using drugs. I think a lot of that is also public shaming in the culture of South Korea, and I think South Korea treats its actors, its big stars, more like India, specifically Bollywood, than how other places do it. That they like hold them up as gods, but also they have to be perfect or they'll be destroyed.
Wow.
Sure.
And that's what happened to this guy, which is really sad.
That's tough.
Very sad.
I fell down a huge rabbit hole. I watch a lot of body cam cop footage.
Oh,
Now.
yeah, I watched
Jesus.
those.
Oh my God. It's amazing what those cameras, I can't imagine what it must have been like before those cameras, what these people got away with.
Yeah.
Because they can't get away with anything. They know it like what I'm watching now are cops getting pulled over for DUIs, and the way they're like begging these people not to do it, but they're all on camera. They can't do anything. And one guy even says, it ain't like it used to be. You just gotta take your lumps and get going.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what went on before.
You don't have to imagine. Just watch LA Confidential. I mean, they make you watch cops in that movie make specific decisions to screw people's rights,
Right.
and some of those people are the heroes that you're supposed to be rooting for.
I know, it's amazing.
And they're doing something that you're like, we got to find this person. They really should beat him up. It's like, no, that's not legal. That's not right. All that.
Well,
kind of
conversely-
stuff.
I will say, I was going to say, John, not to cut you off, but to cut you off. My brother was a cop for 28 years in DC.
Oh, wow.
And he was pre and post body cam, and for a lot of the body cam time, he didn't really have one because he did stuff kind of more behind the scenes. But at the same time, I'm sure that I always got the impression from him that he didn't mind it so much because, I'm sure that for every one cop that you see doing something terrible, there are 20 or 30 or 40 that are exonerated by that footage and the fact that, this guy really did have a lead pipe. Or
I'm not saying that because
So,
yeah, of course.
because
I
a
have,
lot
a
of
friend, I
times,
have a friend that's a state trooper, and I asked him about this. I go, are you guys all upset you got to wear these cameras? He goes, the people who are upset about it are the people that are going to be doing something wrong.
Right.
We love it because it's protecting us. Because they say we did X, Y, and Z, and we say, well, wait a minute, now we run the footage, and it's completely antithetical to what they said. So it
Right.
protects them more than it hurts them.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think
Ralph.
it's overall actually a lot more positive.
If anything
Hey, guys,
would happen at Nat Geo,
I hate to cut it short, at least for me, but I do have to jump here. I got something I've got to handle.
Well, we're right now.
I know we're flowing. I don't want to stop the flow, guys. So I will tell you this. I will at least fast forward to this part of the podcast and watch what I'm sure is going to be pure gold.
No, this is it. The show's over.
Gold, Jerry,
The
it's
next thing
gold.
is we're spinning the wheel for the next film.
Okay.
So
We'll spin the wheel then. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut. I
All right,
don't
you want me to
cut
spin it now? We'll spin it while you're
Screwed it
here.
up
Then
for everybody now.
You
That
got
was
two-
the best show we've ever done, and you're cutting it short.
we'll
God,
spin
yes.
it. We'll spin it now. Okay, let's spin the wheel now.
When
Okay,
he's
let's spin
slinging
this
that
quick.
web.
All right, stand by.
Oh, God.
Sploot.
Whip.
Oh,
Hey. Here's the big whip.
something from the 70s.
I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, shocking.
So 2024 is starting
Surprise,
off like
surprise.
2023, huh, Ralph? Huh?
Yeah.
A
Well, there you
rigged
go.
wheel.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, so
All
I'll let
right.
you guys know in a couple days what the film is. Back to the old school. Pick whatever you want.
Is
Okay.
it Barbie or Indiana Jones?
You know
and the
what?
Dial of-
I think it might be the Dial of Destiny. Now that you bring it up.
That'd be a good choice.
Yeah, let's watch Indiana Jones: The Dial of Destiny and dissect that one.
Perfect.
Is that available streaming?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus,
Plus.
or you could rent it.
So, John, you have to watch it. That's good. Let's do that one. Okay.
Perfect.
Ralph,
we'll
have you
compare and
watched
contrast.
Wolverina's Indian movie yet?
Well, I haven't watched it yet because I got another.
Are you
couple of
going
weeks.
to?
Yes,
I watched it.
for the next Indian film that we do.
Well, how did you watch it? There were no
You
subtitles.
said you weren't going to watch it, you lying piece of.
I said that to you today. Sean, she said, I'll send you a link. She said, I'll send you we got that. We got it with subtitles.
Did you see?
Okay, because the thing I had
Yeah.
previously did not have subtitles.
The guy who
on it.
played the
Tried to
Emperor
watch it.
is Kareem Kapoor's grandfather.
Yes.
Okay, everybody.
All right.
Chris has got to go.
Nice.
Gotta go, fellas.
Goodbye,
Chris, get outta
2023.
here.
Hello,
Thanks
for blowing with
2024.
It was
brother.
good seeing you in
Thanks. We had a great
2024,
show
Chris.
going. You killed it. All
We'll
right.
see you guys next
Woke
week.
bastard.
See you later.